For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michael Daugherty. I'm the chair of the Member Services Committee. And this is a bit of a variation on our Wednesday webinar. So we call it a Welcome Wednesday webinar. We're doing these next couple of months for people to learn more about NACDEP. And today we're going over the committees in the organization. If you notice, this is being recorded. So if you have colleagues or friends or even frenemies within NACDEP who were unable to be here, or just say you want them to learn more, so they might become interested, this will be posted on YouTube. And as I said, it's a committee overview. So next month we will be looking at a particular committee, our new Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. That's again the last Wednesday of the month, but it is at 12 noon Eastern, a special time for a special purpose. That, and I already had a scheduling conflict, so I couldn't do it to normal 3 p.m. Eastern time. Our host for today will be our current president, and the name is not Central Regional Development, but it's Melinda Grismer. And I will cede control of this Zoom to her. So she may, and what she's going to do is go over the committees and introduce what they're about. And if there's someone here from those committees, they'll then come in and talk a little bit about them. So Melinda, take it away.
All right, great. Thanks, Michael. I really appreciate the intro. And yes, I should have renamed myself, but I'm Melinda Grismer, and I'm really looking forward to talking to all of you today. We're going to make this informal, but I thought it would be really nice to go over which of our committees that we have, kind of the current status of those committees in terms of, you know, what their focus and purpose is. And then we have a lot of our committee chairs actually on the line today too. So that will be really nice. As I give an overview, I'll be able to kind of introduce you to the face of the committee chair and any committee members that are on as well. So again, welcome. Really excited to have you here today. So I'm going to start. I have shared my screen with the list that is also posted to our website. So like Michael mentioned, if any of your colleagues or anyone's interested, they can always watch this recording, and they can also access this via our NACDEP website as well. So I have listed the committees in alphabetical order. I might be accused of bias otherwise, but really ComCom, Communications Committee, does come first. I joke about that because I was involved with ComCom for many years. So I've always been accused of bias, but I love all of our committees equally, and I think they do awesome work. So the ComCom committee, or Communications Committee, is co-chaired by Jamie Menon and Jan Steen, and Jan's on the line with us today. Just to give you an overview though, ComCom's responsible for guiding the communications both inside to the NACDEP membership and outside the association. So we're doing both like internal communication and recruitment from outside of the association via our website, via the social media pages. We have a monthly newsletter that's really robust and growing that you should definitely check out if you haven't done that yet. We have a listserv that goes out with important e-blasts. We try to keep those to a minimum and only put those out when it's really important. So, so if you get one, definitely click on that, because it means it's important and something for the whole membership to look at. So that's what ComCom does, and what they've done in their structuring is they've assigned a task for each one of these to a particular committee member. So everybody is very well aware of, you know, what they do and kind of what they're in charge of. So if I haven't already stolen the thunder of Jan Steen, I will pass it on to him to introduce himself and say a few words about ComCom. So.
All right. Thanks, Melinda. So yeah, my name is Jan Steen. I work with K-State Research and Extension as a community vitality specialist. And Jamie can't be here today because there's another meeting going on that we were at, and I jumped over here. But there's so many amazing things going on in ComCom that we need 2 coordinators, and that's why there are 2 of us. What Melinda said was correct. We do have people in charge of each of those things that she talked about. We also have some members that aren't in charge of anything. They come in and bring their ideas, and we talk about ways that we can communicate better with the membership and outside of the association. And some of our goals are to enhance that communication strategy, to increase member engagement, and to foster and forge closer alliances with other committees within NACDEP especially marketing and member services. We have liaisons to those two committees. And another thing that we have members do is we have a member usually on the conference planning committee, because there's a lot of communication involved and promotion involved there. We do have a YouTube channel where this is, as Michael said, that's where this is going to go later. And Melinda is also in charge of videography as part of, right now, as for the conference as part of this committee. So whether we're in person or whether we are virtual, we have some videos of things going on from the conference that she helps coordinate there.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Jan. Any questions for ComCom from people that are checking out committees today? If you do, feel free to pipe up. All right, hearing none, I'm gonna move on to the next one, which is our newest committee, actually. And well, actually, I about skipped one. Sorry. Moving on to conferences. We'll get to the newest committee. The conference committee is an annual committee that changes every year. So depending where the location of that conference is going to be, the host team changes. But it's always true that the incoming president is the co-chair of the conference committee, which is why my name is listed, because I am the current president, but also the co-chair of the conference. And this year, the conference is actually in my home state. So it's kind of a triple whammy when you think of it that way. So it's coming to Indy 2022. And my co-chair is Tamara Ogle, who also co-chairs the recognition committee. And so our conference planning team not only pulls from, so this year it's being hosted in Indy, which means Purdue is the host university. Not only does it pull from our host university, but we also try to get involvement from all of NACDEP membership across, all regions, so that we can put up the best conference possible on. So actually at the moment, we are in the middle of recruiting new members. So if you have any interest in helping plan the conference, and that comes, so our conference committee also has committees underneath of it, including, for instance, we have a marketing committee. We have a committee for the mobile workshops that we put together. We have one for sessions. We have one for speakers, just to give you a little flavor of what's available. All of that, and I'll switch over at the end here, is available also on our Google Drive, which I'll drop in the chat right now. We have the committee form there, and we also have the conference planning spreadsheet. So if you're interested in either one of those, if after this call you want to jump on, you can add yourself to that Google sheet if you have interest in either the conference planning committee or any of these committees that you hear about. So I'll drop those in the chat here in a minute when we're able to transition. But either one of those you can access, and we do have a lot of interest in having members from all across the nation, not just our host committees at Purdue working on that. So I don't know if I answered all those, any questions anybody might have, or if I presented that very well, but if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. Okay, moving on then to DEI. So DEI is, like I was about to say, the newest committee. It just became a chartered committee of NACDEP in April. It was voted in by the board. And we felt like, particularly as we were coming out of this last year and with all of the DEI concerns and just where we're at as a nation and as an organization, that we couldn't go any longer without this committee. It's very much an area of interest. We already have, what is it now? I'm up to 13 people that want to be on this committee, and they've asked that they would be a self-determining committee. So initially when it was chartered, we talked about a chair, co-chair situation, and it may well end up like that, but they're going to meet first to really talk about the structure that they'd like to develop. And so we have 13 very passionate people that would like others that are interested as well to join them in helping to build this committee and create what the structure will be for the DEI committee. So this would be a great time to get in on the ground floor of DEI. The next webinar, we keep stepping on member services toes, but the next Wednesday webinar is going to be August 25th at noon. And that will feature a talk just about the DEI committee. All those that are interested already in being involved will be there. And if you have particular interest in DEI, that's the time to join us, August 25th at noon. So any questions about DEI? The mission I've posted up here just has, I think it's a very simple, straightforward, but important mission to facilitate and inform actions that will lead to diverse, equitable, inclusive association, membership, and community development discipline through policymaking, programming, recognition, and resources. So we want to integrate it into everything that we do in NACDEP, and we want to make sure that our organization is reflective of that mission and that purpose. So any questions about DEI? All right, I'm going to move on to finance. I know Craig was going to join us. Craig, are you on the line? Okay, great. I see you.
I am.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to give a little overview. So finance serves in an advisory capacity to the board on financial matters. They help us with internal reviews. And so just this last month, we decided to bring development in under finance. And we haven't completely decided what that's going to look like, but we know that they'll also be in charge of helping with what development used to be in charge of, which was raising funds for the purpose of the endowment. So we have an endowment, and it's pretty robust. It's growing. And we're hoping that it will help us with sustainability as an organization. And then eventually, once we reach the cap of 100,000, we'll be able to use it for providing scholarships. We do provide scholarships now, but they're not coming from the endowment at this point. So we're trying to grow that endowment for organizational sustainability, and also to help us with continuing to give out those scholarships and from an accessibility standpoint for our fellow educators and colleagues. So I will introduce Craig Carpenter. He is our brand new finance chair, and I'd love for him to introduce himself and just say a few words about finance.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So I'm Craig Carpenter. I'm an extension specialist both at Texas A&M AgriLife Extension and at Michigan State University Extension in agricultural economics. So yeah, I just started as the finance chair about a month ago, just very shortly before the development committee got brought into under finance. But Daniel, the treasurer, has been doing an awesome job of kind of getting me up to speed. But I am still maybe less informed than some of you about the other committees here. So I'm looking forward to learning more about all the committees on here. And I only got access to the financial statements, I think, last week. So I don't have a ton to say about the specifics of NACDEP finances. But I am, looking forward to learning more and continuing to work with the organization.
Awesome. Well, and I love it that Craig is brand new, because it shows all of you that you can be brand new and still very involved with NACDEP. And we really try to be a welcoming organization. And, all of us as colleagues help the next ones that are transitioning into these roles. So as Craig mentioned, he's kind of been mentored by Daniel, who's our treasurer for the organization right now. So you're never alone. When you're in a committee, you're going to be helped by your colleagues to make sure, you feel comfortable in that role. So Craig's a really great example of that. So, all right. I am going to mention member services next. And we have the chair of member services gave our introduction today. Member services is one of what we've called the big three before. So we've got ComCom, member services, and marketing, which is going to go next after Michael talks. They're called the big three because they help us a lot with organizational sustainability. They kind of have similar functions, but there's nuances. They're a little different in different ways. And so we've worked on that on those nuances over the last several years so that each of these committees really has found its niche or is finding its niche in terms of how to support NACDEP. So member services, really keeps the organization responsive to its members in both the organizational focus and also the products that are delivered. And I'll let Michael talk to you a little bit about what he's done as member services chair and what the committee's done to respond to you as members. And he's kind of brought a couple innovative things in over these last 2 years. I'll let him talk to you about.
Well, as Melinda said, is part of the big three, and I guess with DEI, it'd probably be more like the big four, because the new committee is also going to be integrated or connected with member services, marketing, and communications. I think they're all going to be working toward making us an inclusive organization, a responsive organization, a welcoming organization, and one that serves its membership. And that's really the niche that member services has, is trying to make sure that if you're going to pay or have your organization pay for to be a part of NACDEP, that you see value in it. Unlike some professional organizations, we don't have a journal, which is one thing of value. So we have to find other ways to make it meaningful to those who come. The most obvious one is the conference, which is done by the conference committee for the organization. But that's 1 week of the year that you're either in person or on Zoom. What do you do the other 51? How do you keep people engaged? Well, ComCom has the newsletter, but there's more. If you heard us talk about the Wednesday webinar, that's something that members have talked about, wanting some additional educational program for several years. And last year we took the crisis of the pandemic and made it an opportunity, because there was these presentations that had been accepted for our reconfigured conference that was going to be in New Hampshire and then ended up being virtual, that could not be fit into the schedule. So we suddenly had presentations that we could show on webinars. We already started the series, but this gave us so much more. We went from a quarterly to a monthly Wednesday webinar. And for the most part, those were very well received. Often, a couple of dozen or more people would be in attendance on our Zoom screen. And that's one way. Another way has been serving the membership. The committee, right before I took over in Asheville, the Asheville conference in 2019, had done a survey of the membership. We helped ComCom with a quick little survey about communications and electronic means people got their information. We're planning on doing another general membership survey. We're also trying to find out how better to reach our members, and where our members come from. We're trying to get profiles of our membership, because we represent there's 50 states, there's territories, there's 3 different types of land grant universities, and there are about as many different configurations of community development as you can think of. But we don't have a good handle on how people are all organized and what they need. And so we're going to go out and ask our members, the 360 people or so who have said, who are part of NACDEP, and keep in periodic communication to make sure that we are doing what brings value to their activities and what brings value to their membership within and their participation in NACDEP. And finally, getting back to, we don't have a journal, but what was started in the North Central region, and which NACDEP has become a part of, is a CD extension library, a place where people can put their community development programs so they can be accessed or found out about people by other educators across the country. This is different from what we found out later that the Extension Foundation was doing, and both have been launched. Ours is a little bit more than just vaccine program information under community development, and I think both will grow, but ours is separate. We decided not to keep ours separate because it's structured differently. We put a lot of time into it, and it's okay for people to find out about programs in multiple ways. And we feel this is something that the North Central region took the leadership in, and that is going to add value to the be for those both who work in this field and for our members. So that's something that we're become very supportive of happening. So that's some of the different things that we do. And the other piece that we do is the session for the newcomers and educating people about the organization, which is why we're having these during the summer months, these Welcome Wednesday webinars following up from our conference. And I think the one thing I need to put in money for is a good light so you can actually see my face. I almost bought one at Gabe's, but I decided that probably buying electronic equipment at a discount store that you may not be able to take things back to, probably wouldn't be a good investment. But which points to really what we're working on now. We've got some things going on. We want to try and improve them and make them better and make them more useful. So certainly if you're interested in participating, if you've got ideas for this committee or any of the committees, I'm sure that the committee chairs would love to hear from you.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. That's awesome. Okay. And I really like that you mentioned the CD library as well, because it's the newest feature that we have. And it really is a great way to find resources that you may not have even known were available. They're well archived and indexed, so definitely check that out. Okay, so marketing is next. And I see that Emily Proctor, our chair, is with us. So I'm really excited to introduce her as well. Marketing is responsible for communicating the value of NACDEP to grow the membership. So that's kind of where the niche is from marketing. And they've done some great things as well in terms of a lot of new materials. So brochure, a flyer, some different things that they've done in terms of specific outreach through our regional reps. So rather than steal thunder of every chair, I am gonna hand it over to Emily and let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about marketing.
Miigwech, Melinda. Bonjour, everyone. Emily Proctor, Tribal Extension Educator for Michigan State University Extension. I work with Michigan tribal nations, tribal communities in a variety of capacities, specifically tribal governance, good governance, community leadership, and engagement. And I have the honor of working with a great team, with great teams, committees, and our board to create marketing materials to promote the great work and the great opportunities that NACDEP can offer. So how do we fit into the overall scheme? So we work closely with communications committee to develop recruitment materials to support e-communications, newsletters, social media. We also work with ComCom we provided recently a flyer, a call to action for our members to see if anyone would be interested in lending their marketing expertise, sharing their ideas, to learn more about what it would mean, how we can improve and change, and maybe even reinforce some of the great work that we've done in our marketing committee. And so over the past number of years, and Melinda, Miigwech for sharing the brochure, we worked very heavily prior to the pandemic that we've all had to pivot and change to support our communities, our families. But we worked very hard on a new brochure. We are working on a one-page flyer, and we have spoke for years about creating marketing materials and to help share the narratives and the great mentors, resources, and collaborations of NACDEP in marketing materials to be inclusive and responsive to the needs of our 1890s and 1994. So we will continue to work with John Phillips and others to bring in our partners to learn more about what would be important for them, for our partners to see in our marketing materials. And again, working with our other committees to ensure that happens as well. And so to sum up, our goal as a committee is to communicate the value and mission of NACDEP to grow our membership and its visibility in and outside of Extension, to identify opportunities to increase Extension's professionals' engagement within NACDEP, to research and report on strategic issues such as target markets, services, products, and of course, recruitment of members, and working across committees to increase the visibility of NACDEP, especially communications, membership services, and of course, all of our committees as well. So if you are interested, you have an idea, you're interested in first joining, you have ideas that you'd like to share, any new partnerships you'd like to share. I know we have a great relationship with our committees. Please join us for the fourth Tuesday of every month for an hour Zoom. And I will update our Zoom link, Melinda, to ensure that it's just to make sure it's the correct one. And we look forward to hearing from you again. Please come join us. We love to have new folks join and those who've previously been involved as well. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Emily. That's awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned too that, so in the Google Sheet, I'm not sure if we have it at the moment or don't, but we should add the Zoom links to that Google Sheet, because then the recurring Zoom links would always be there, and then whoever wants to join us can join us. So we want to be a really transparent organization, and we want you to be involved. And even if you decide, you know, that you want to add yourself and join, we are more than happy to welcome you at any point. So we'll add the Zoom links to that Google Sheet, and I'll share that at the end of this call too. So thank you for mentioning that. All right. Okay. And so Adam, I was trying to see if Adam is with us or not. I haven't seen him, but he is the most recent past president. And as such, he's in charge of 2 committees. He's in charge of the nominations committee, as well as the resolutions and policy committee. And just to give you a little bit of background, because sometimes you go to the business meeting, for instance, at NACDEP. So I'm saying this from experience. I kind of learned my way through this over the last 10 years. And you're wondering, I wonder what these, wonder what these committees do. I wonder what, what's happening behind the scenes here. For nominations, really so it's the past president that's in charge of helping to basically identify nominees for elections. And the elections for NACDEP happens in January, but the ballot comes out in November, December, that kind of thing. And so he's working right now, or will be soon anyway, in the fall, to find some candidates that would be the next for the slate. So the next president-elect, the next treasurer, the next secretary, the next of the 4 regional reps. That's who's on the core of the board. So he would be in charge of trying to help identify those people and making sure he's paying attention to the terms and all of that. So that's his job to nominate. And then those nominees would go on the ballot, and then the membership votes whether, which of those candidates on the slate for each of the offices are voted in. So you may already have known that, but I thought I would just throw that out there, because sometimes this stuff is the mystic behind the scenes and we're not aware of it. So that's nominations. And then for resolutions and policy, he also doesn't really get started on this till about January either, but he works on reviewing the existing policy statements. And we have policies and procedures guide. And so he kind of looks at the bylaws, the policies and procedures, the website, for instance, all of our documents, to make sure that they agree with each other. They're all updated, they're in agreement, and that they reflect, our current thinking as an organization. So for instance, when the DEI committee gets to work, they're probably going to be funneling up some work for Adam to do, because he's going to be looking at our resolutions and policy in light of our diversity, equity, and inclusion mission. And are we really meeting that mission? So I'm sure there'll be a lot of work to do across the organization in terms of our policies, and are they inclusive? So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview of what resolutions and policy committee does. Others can also join at least the resolution and policies committee. And if you're interested in that, Adam would definitely be your contact for that. And then recognition, unfortunately, Rachel Wellborn, who's been the recognition chair for a long time, and Tamara, who is the current chair, were not able to make it today, but Michael is representing recognition committee in their absence. But I'll tell you a little bit about them as well. It's this committee, I used to think of it as the awards committee, but it's actually called the recognition committee. It's responsible for overseeing the whole process for giving away the awards that you see at the business meeting, where it's the regional and national levels, where we're awarding our colleagues in the field of community development for their outstanding outreach, scholarship, and service. So they're in charge of how that process works, and to get the actual the decisions made for those awards. So I will, without telling you anymore, pass it over to Michael and let him, he's been a past chair of recognition committee.
Right.
So
I did chair it for a few years in the last decade. And back in the teens, the main function of the committee is to solicit nominations for and make decisions on the awards. But there's more than that, because to give out appropriate recognition to programs, you've got to go through and first of all, you figure out what you want to recognize. And so this time of year, what will happen is be the debrief. What are we getting? Is the committee getting the right kind of nominations? Are we missing things? Are there are there circumstances that we no longer apply that we still have awards categories for because it's the way we used to do things, and the things that we're doing now that we aren't yet recognizing? That's how, for example, there used to be education materials and education technology in those awards kind of there were multiple categories and those awards got streamlined. That's how we created a diversity award and a creativity award, because what we do changes. So that process starts happening in the fall. Then go through, and in late fall, the call goes out for people to be nominated or nominate themselves, depending on the category and the type of award, both in team and individual. Once that happens, start getting them in, and there's the intake. You have to make sure that the awards are filled out properly. And as we've gotten to the point where we have so many people applying for them now, you have to make sure that rules are followed and occasionally people get removed from the awards potential pool by not following rules. So it's very important to for you to, if it says do X, do X when you're nominating or submitting for an award. But once that happens, then the awards are sent to judges, and their scores are, you have to solicit the judges and to work with the 4 geographic regional representatives to get a balance across the country. And they're scored, and that's how both the regional and national award winners are determined from that single scoring. That avoids possible things like when I first, the 1 year we actually had 2 sets of judges, one doing regional, one doing national, and had a program that scored higher by one and higher by another. So you had second place in the regional being first national. You learn by doing things like that. Everybody got a good chuckle out of it, and everybody was recognized, so we just moved forward. But it's by thinking things through and looking at systems and that you avoid those particular problems. But the idea, then you get those judges and you put through and you design then the program to recognize people and programs, the PowerPoints that you've seen, the presentations, the web page articles, the information in the newsletter as we're continuing different formats. For several years, we had these nice printed glossy programs, which were great until we discovered that we forgot them 1 year and nobody missed them. And they were being left behind. They looked great. They're fantastic, but people's expectations of what they want and what they want to carry change, and they often change very quickly. And so staying on top of that, and staying on top of what should be honored and the process is what the recognition committee does. So it's while most of the work does occur in the spring as you get ready for as you receive the nominations and make the decision, get that information back from the judges and then have the presentation, there is a fall activity as well. And it's always good to look at these things because there may be things going on now that we're not quite recognizing. Should we have a special, should there be a special award next year for resilience and bouncing back and programming related to COVID, which we have not even thought of, although we've done some of that in some of our presentations. So that's the type of questions that will be discussed this fall, I do imagine, in recognition. So Tamara is going to continue as a chair. She is looking for a co-chair or just looking for additional members. I'm still on the committee, even though I do chair member services, but I said I was co-chair in 2012 and chair from 2013 to 2019. So I'm kind of what they call institutional memory. And Rachel, who is stepping down as chair, is remaining on the committee. So you're going to have, so there's lots of good experience. And also this is a great way to, well, Melinda talked about ComCom. This is really the leadership training program, because we've had regional, our treasurer went through that. One of our regional reps went through this. Other committee chairs have gone through this. So this is really a place where if people have launched their leadership career within NACDEP from this committee, they have fun over in ComCom. We train leaders in recognition. Sorry about that, Melinda. So, but I'm certainly, if you want to, and I think the meeting is the first Wednesday of the month, but I think I'm going to turn back over control now to Melinda, who actually has a sheet with all of that information of the meetings and when they will be.
Yep, and that's what I was going to share next. So thanks for the segue. I also wanted to mention and thank Michael for kind of explaining the process of how the awards work, because I think that's important. And also wanted to let you know that over the next month or so, we're going to be highlighting individual winners that we just recognized at the last conference individually on social media. So check out our social media, check out those posts, because I think it'll be fun to see the individual winners highlighted over the next couple of months.